In December 1773, a group of Bostonians determined to resist the Acts of Parliament that taxed the tea threw chests of tea into Boston Harbor. In London, the news of the Boston Tea Party was met with horror. Parliament decided, and the King's ministers decided, that Bostonians must be punished. And so the port of Boston was closed. A General Gage, was sent here to bring order. British troops, the dreaded Redcoats, were sent as well. Things were tense in Boston in 1774. Early in 1775, matters grew even more grave. The Massachusetts Provincial Congress left Boston. They were meeting in Concord under the leadership of Samuel Adams and John Hancock. General Gage here in Boston was determined to take control. He was particularly alarmed when he heard that munitions, cannons, gunpowder were being gathered in the town of Concord to outfit the Massachusetts militia, the Minutemen. And so, on the evening of the 18th of April, 1775, 800 British soldiers gathered here at the foot of Boston Common to prepare to cross the Charles River to make their march on Lexington and Concord. They crossed quietly, but not without notice, for the Boston Committee of Safety knew that the British were on the march tonight, and they dispatched two messengers, Paul Revere and William Dawes, to alarm the countryside that the regulars were out tonight. Well, the regulars did cross the Charles. They landed in Cambridge, and they began their march towards Lexington and Concord. By now, of course, the secret march was a secret no more. The entire countryside was alarmed. Revere and Dawes carried the message to every Middlesex village and farm. As the British marched out towards Lexington, they could hear bells sounding in the distance. They could hear alarm guns going off. They knew that the Americans knew the regulars were out. In Lexington, Captain John Parker summoned his company of militia to stand and be ready for the British. They gathered on Lexington Green, and they waited and waited. When the British didn't arrive, Captain Parker told his men to stand down, but be ready to assemble again should the alarm sound. Towards dawn, on the morning of the 19th of April, suddenly the news came that the British were not far from the town. William Diamond, a young Lexington drummer, was summoned to tap the drum in alarm. Diamond did his job, and Captain Parker's men assembled on Lexington Green. As they approached the Americans, their officers yelled to them, "Lay down your arms, you damned rebels." In the meantime, Captain Parker told his men, "Stand firm, don't move." The story has it that Parker told his men, "Don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have a war, then let it begin here." As the British approached, there was confusion. From a distance, we still don't know how or who or precisely where, but from a distance, from behind a stone wall, a shot was fired. That sent the British troops into a panic. They lowered their weapons, fired at the Americans who were standing there, charged with their bayonets. The British officers immediately regained control of their men, but it was too late. Several Americans lay dead on Lexington Green. Others were severely wounded. The British soldiers regrouped, took their arms, and began to huzzah. 3 huzzahs for the King. And then they marched off towards the town of Concord, leaving the people of Lexington to gather their dead and tend to the wounded.